Writers and other people who think they can get away with murder. Hello and welcome back to my writing journey. I'm Byerrum, author of The Crime of Fashion Mysteries, working on my next novel, Crook Tales for Two, which I will discuss in my next video. Although it doesn't happen that often, we see stories about writers and other people who think they are smarter than we are and that they can get away with murder. Not in their stories, but in real life. They aren't smarter, and in my opinion, they are usually dumber than the average bird. Hubris, overweening pride, passion, and greed are always going to trip them up. There are three recent cases, I have notes on them, of writers and one dentist who killed their spouse in remarkably stupid ways and obviously thought they were going to get away with murder. So let's look at them. In Oregon, Nancy Crampton Brophy was convicted in 2022 for killing her husband, Daniel. She was a self-published romance writer, and here's a fun fact. She previously wrote an essay called How to Murder Your Husband. This is really rather telling, don't you think? It happened in 2011, and people said, well, no, it didn't really have any bearing on the murder she committed in 2018. But those thoughts just linger. Nancy Crampton Brophy is 71 years old. She was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 25 years, so I think it's safe to say she's going to end her life behind bars. When you see Brophy's picture, she doesn't look like any romance writer I've known. There's no pink, there's no ruffles, there's no iron fist in a velvet glove. She simply looks like a very disappointed woman having a very not bright day. According to news reports, she was motivated by money troubles and a life insurance policy. Let's move over to Utah. In Utah, earlier this year, prosecutors say Corey Richens, 33, allegedly poisoned Eric Richens, her husband, he was 39, by slipping 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl in a Moscow mule that she made for him. It's delivery with a smile, I suppose. The motive of 3 later self-published a children's book about dealing with grief. It was titled Are You With Me? And it featured a father who has a pair of wings looking over his sons. This is really taking research too far, don't you think? And I know people can get trapped by their research, but this is one of them. Richens is in custody, awaiting trial. She has been accused but not convicted. Police found that Corey Richens searched for lethal doses of fentanyl on her iPhone. They also found searches for life insurance payouts and lie detector tests. In one of the news reports, the victim had warned his family that she was trying to poison him, and yet he stayed. Then there's the Colorado dentist, James Craig. I am just putting this in because he seems to do exactly the same things as the mystery writers to show that none of us are smarter than anyone else. And you might think that a dentist would at least have the educational background to think something through. He has been charged in the murder of his wife, Angela, earlier this year. In the 3 weeks, this is a quote, before Angela died, James Craig allegedly used a computer at his dental practice to create a new email address and make online searches, including how many grams of pure arsenic will kill a human? And is arsenic detectable in autopsy? According to the affidavit. Craig later had potassium cyanide delivered to his office, and his wife died of lethal doses of cyanide and tetrahydrozoline. According to news reports, Craig had affairs with other women. He had recently fallen for another one and apparently was tired of his wife, so he was going after this younger woman. She said that they'd never consummated the affair. As an aside, the victim, Angela Craig, told her sister that Craig had drugged her before. That makes 2 cases. So if someone is trying to poison you or drug you, take a hint and leave now. Contact the authorities. Don't wait around and be a victim. That's just my editorial aside. And these look to be the things that trip killers up. One, large insurance policies. If you have one and you die, this is always going to raise questions: who gets the money, especially when people are having money trouble. Stupid affairs. Someone has decided they want to ditch the spouse and take up with a younger version. But, divorce is so expensive. This seems to happen over and over again. And this is a lesson that people never learn. Spending the rest of your life in prison is not a better solution than divorce. Search histories. Seriously, do they not know? Any competent mystery writer knows that their search histories are too hot to handle. We've Googled it all, and all of it could be incriminating. The cops and the FBI know how to break computers and phones. They just always know. You can't hide it. Then there's always staging the scene to make something look like it was a break-in, an intruder, a suicide. Suicides don't usually have the gun in their hands, although that is the image we see over and over on television, that the suicide has the gun in their hand because the killer has pressed it and pressed the fingerprints into the gun. Well, basically, a lot of suicides will never have a gun in their hand because the recoil makes them flinch and the gun goes flying. So, if there is a gun in the hand, it better be worth a second look at how that happened. I'm not saying it couldn't happen in the universe, it could, but most often it's a clue. Then there's always the ladder to a second floor window. Well, the police can tell if there are impressions in the ground, if someone has actually climbed up the ladder. Is there dirt on the ladder? Are there footsteps nearby? These are all clues. Was the window left open? Was the window broken into? There are all sorts of things they know that we don't know. I mean, I'm sure that they know many things about a scene that are obviously, they say, this is staged, this is staged, this is staged. They know what to look for, what's there, and what is missing. So my take on all of this, on these writers, is it's much better to write about murder than to participate in it. That's all I have for now. Clear your search histories. Bye.